So our special guest today is Beau Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in writing?
Oh, sure. Funny story. When I was 15, I bought my brother Stephen King's Misery for his birthday. He's a younger brother, and he wouldn't read the book. So I said, screw it, I'm going to read it. And I've been hooked ever since. So I started writing in my teens, but then, life gets in the way, girls, bars, alcohol, my wife, my own kids. And then when my youngest was almost two, I got back to writing. So I was probably about 34, 33. And I've been writing ever since. I'm 51 now.
Fantastic. And have you got many books out?
My sixth book just came out.
Brilliant. So tell us about those books.
Well, the first three books are short story collections that revolve around a main character called Bishop Ryder. So it's Bishop Ryder stories alongside other unconnected tales. But my last three novels are episodic novels, which deal exclusively with Bishop Ryder and his struggle, which is he had his sister and mother murdered and by human traffickers, and he takes the law into his own hands. He's a Punisher archetype. He's a vigilante for sure.
Yeah. So what drew you to the horror genre?
Well, I I've always rode the line, I say, between crime and horror. I always said that they're like distant cousins, but because he does hunt human monsters, but
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about a bad guy chasing a worse person that does it for me. I love that my guy, he knows he's the bad guy, but he can't help himself. He's doing it anyways, killing worse
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, well, people can be monsters, can't they? In the worst ways.
They can, that indeed. Yeah.
So walk us through your process of developing a story idea. Where do your ideas normally come from?
I'm always a what if guy. It has to be just, hey, what if why are those two guys throwing that guy in front of a train? Why are they throwing it? And, that's where a story usually sparks from that. One day I was driving to work and I was looking at this silo and I just envisioned two guys fighting on top of it. I'm like, well, why are they fighting on top of it? So it's usually like that. I'm not an outliner. I'm a pantser by nature. I just have to have an idea to spark and then I go from there. Sometimes I get the back end, I get the end of the story and I work backwards. Sometimes I have the first line. Once in a while, I'll get the middle and I'll branch out from both sides, but usually it's always a what if.
So how would that work then if you sort of like got the ending and then you work your way backwards?
Well, if I know that the guy's going to end up in a pizza oven or whatever, I work backwards from like, well, where's the pizza place? Who's involved, right? And I'd work from there. Yeah, that's just an example, right?
Yeah.
Like the silo story, it was a father whose son had been or a daughter had been abducted and murdered, and the guy gets out on a technicality and he chases them down to his own farm and sacrifices his own life to kill this guy. And that was how it worked back
Yeah.
from there.
Fantastic. So were any of your characters or plots inspired by your own experiences or fears?
Uh well, I can't say that they have. I do. I sometimes I hate parts of this world that it does what it does, and the law holds us back. I've always said if I did what my characters did, I would lose my family because they'd throw me in jail. But
Yeah.
my own little part that I do is I create it through fiction. I try and stand up against it.
I suppose that's one way of dealing with things and doing your own therapy, I suppose. Putting it down on paper.
For sure, yes.
Difficult story or a scene that you've ever had to write, and why was it challenging?
Well, it's not just any one scene. I'm six books in now. There's 127 Bishop Ryder stories, and there's always a death in a Bishop Ryder story, but 127 stories, there's only so many ways you can kill a person. So I try to keep it
Yeah.
new and interesting, but I must say, this deep into the narrative, it proves difficult to find new and interesting ways. I have once in a while double dipped and went back to an old kill, but you can't do it very often or it just becomes too repetitive.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've ever thought, I've gone a bit too far there?
Well, yeah, but I use I tell a writer's story from multiple points of view. And I have this unnamed narrator, and he's always like, "Are we over the top? Are we a Bond villain?" And so it's nice that I can attack it that way to poke fun at myself. Like I know, like we're using a great white shark here, but you know what? I have the money. I'm going to do it.
Fantastic. I don't think there is a point where it goes too far. There is really in horror, everything's sort of like on the table.
Right now, I try not to be too gratuitous. Right. I am still in horror, but you don't need everything up in your face. There's something for less is more, right?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so what is the most popular book that you've got, and how do you think that's gone down with the readers, and why?
I could not tell you. I can tell you this book, my most popular book to date, I think, was my third book, All of Them to Burn. I don't know what it is, but people dig that book. But then this new book that came out 2 weeks ago, it has gone to #1 in hot new releases on Amazon, and I'm so thankful. I don't know why it happened, but I'm trying to ride it as best I can.
Fantastic.
It has been in the top 10 for the last 8 days.
That's brilliant. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
So, have you got any memorable reactions from your readers that stand out to you?
Well, I'm Canadian, so we have this sort of this. I don't know what the idea that we're nice people, which we are. There's a lot of nice people in this world, but when some people read my stuff, they're like, "You're Canadian? I thought you were a nice person." I'm like, "Well, it's only fiction. It's not me in real life." So I think that's a testament to I'm doing my job as a narrator.
Fantastic. So, have you got any exciting projects that you're currently working on that you can share with us?
Well, I could. I'm always working on something, but I have this idea for a 7th book called Like-Minded Individuals, and it takes place right after or during the Abrum Files, this book that just came out. So we'll see what happens. I've always written my stories out of sequence, so which is to say that I'm not giving you the story in order or linear. So there's always room to fill in the gaps. Any story that I write can provide a sequel or a prequel, and it's just the way I write. I write a little different than everyone else, but I've made it work so far. And with the Abrum Files, I don't know what it is, but people are liking it.
Everybody's got their own uniqueness, haven't they, when they're writing books?
Oh, that's what I say. I love it how they say that all the stories have been told. They just haven't been told in your voice. Yeah, our voice gives it the uniqueness.
That's right. So what advice would you give for aspiring writers who want to break into the horror genre?
Don't give up. I gave up about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years. I quit, and some very nice people changed my mind. And being right here, right now, I'm so fortunate they did. Yeah.
Can you go into why you decided you were wanting to quit?
Yeah, it was more a heartbreak. I couldn't reach the audience that I wanted to. And no, I'm not owed anything. I don't want people to think that, but it's just putting in all the years. And then I write a book that I think is the best book I've ever written, which is my 4th book, and it just tanks. That was it. I was done, but I'd already written my 5th book, so I knew I was going to do it. And I should refrain or backtrack. I wasn't ever going to quit writing. I was going to quit publishing, and that's what I did. But then, I was talked out of it. And like I said, being here now with the Abrum Files, doing the numbers that it is, I'm so fortunate that I listened.
It's hard though, isn't it? As an author, you've got so much to do, and there's so much competition. It is hard to get out there. There's a lot of people who think that writing is so easy and getting things published, we're going to make lots of money. But it's not always the case. It's very hard.
Oh, I agree. And like, when you don't have a marketing budget, you don't have an agent, you're so stymied. And I've always said I've written for myself first. But if I can't, keep myself entertained, how am I going to entertain a reader? But I do write for my readers too. Like, and I'd be lying if I said there's not a little bit of validation involved here with the Abrum Files. I'm not saying it's all
Yeah.
of it, but it's just I can't deny that it's there as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like a as you said, it's like a heartbreak, isn't it?
It was yes, it was, yes.
So where can we find your books?
Well, Amazon everywhere, and then Down and Out Books is my publisher, and they have a store too. And at one time I was in Barnes and Nobles, but I'm not sure if I'm there anymore. But I'm on Twitter, it's Beau Johnson 44, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Beau Johnson 44. Yeah, all the haunts.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. Well, thank you very much, both, for being on the show. It's been lovely having you here, and I hope the books continue to do well for you.
Crystal, thank you very much for reaching out and having me on. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
You're very